Guys, Ash here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. I'm glad to have you here. Sending some positive vibes your way, especially if you need them today. Thanks for joining me, talking some Raid. Today, we're going to follow up the series Essential Tips to Build a Tank, Essential Tips to Build a Nuker, with the next in the saga, Essential Tips to Build a Debuffer in Raid Shadow Legends. I love a good debuffer. Today, we're mainly going to be talking about the decreased defense, the weaken type debuffs, but generally speaking, these rules can apply to any debuffer in the game in terms of stat priorities and how to build them and what makes a good debuffer, right? Speaking of debuffers, I actually want to start with some of the better debuff options out there in case you're just starting out the game. I'm going to start this video on my free-to-play account. We'll move over to my end game account and talk about kind of different options as you evolve to the mid and the end game in terms of how you're going to build your debuffer on your account. So some of my faves here. Well, we have to start with the best rare debuffer in the game, and she's free to everybody in stage 9 of the campaign. It is War Maiden. War Maiden really exemplifies what we're looking for on a debuffer. Decreased defense specifically is a 3-turn cooldown when you book her out, and a 100% chance when you book her out to place that decreased defense. So again, 3-turn cooldown, 100% land rate. She's the only rare in the game that has that. And again, she is free. I'll show you. It's the Dreadlands right here. Battle, campaign, and stage 9. The Dreadlands, you can get yourself a War Maiden. She's a rare drop there, but if you farm a little bit, you'll eventually get your hands on her. She's going to be, again, the best rare and probably a champion that a lot of early game players are going to start with. Now, there's a couple other noteworthy decreased defense champions who are rares, but unfortunately, they don't have it at 100% land rate. So Dagger has it at a 75% land rate. We really want 100 because we want reliability out of our debuffers, but it's nice to actually know there's a couple of them out there. Dagger is one. Another one that's a little bit underrated, a little bit of an unsung hero. I think I like when it rains. Not Flesh Terror Ash, but rather Fleshmonger. I'll never forgive this. Fleshmonger is pretty good because he's an extra turn ability, and then he has a 75% decreased defense on his A3 ability. That extra turn basically turns this into a 3-turn cooldown. So again, another 75% option. Some of my favorite epics, and there's a lot of them, so we're not going to cover them all, but just a couple to make note of is Stag Knight, one of the best decreased defense, and he has decreased attack in his kit as well. Just a tremendous debuffing champion out there. We have Deacon Armstrong, one of the best. Again, another spirit affinity debuffer. He has a decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown, 100% land rate, and an extra turn ability, so he can keep this decreased defense up almost all the time on the enemies. That makes him one of the best out there, even including some legendary champions, right? A couple more of my favorites here is Duck the Pierced. He has a decreased attack and decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown as well, 100% land rate, provided it's a critical hit. So nice to have him. And let's just give me one more here. Who's another good debuffer who I like in the epic category? Let's just go with one of the best out there. It's going to be Ugo. Ugo has a decreased defense and block buffs on the same ability. She's a good support champion as well. Listen, there's a lot of other really good both epic and legendary debuffers in the game, but these are some of my favorites, some of the best ones out there, again, to kind of keep an eye out for. So guys, here we have Duck the Pierced on my free-to-play account. I have really crappy artifacts on him, as you guys can see here, but it still gets the job done for where I am in the game, right? So let's start with Masteries and talk about the essential Masteries for a debuffing champion. Now you'll see that I have the offense tree, but I really want to draw your attention to the support tree on debuffers. First and foremost, we really want to maximize their accuracy. So getting pinpoint accuracy, charge focus, and swarm smiter are going to be almost mandatory on the support tree. After that, you can pick up Lore of Steel and get an additional bonus on your accuracy or perception gear. Both accuracy, which is farmed in Dragon's Lair, and perception, which you can get in the Forge, is going to be some of your best artifact options for your debuffers. We'll talk about more mid and end game options as well when we switch over to my main account.
But what does that mean?
We have Master Hexer in terms of masteries. 30% chance to extend the duration of any debuff cast by this champion for 1 turn. That is going to apply to most of the most important debuffs out there in terms of decreased defense, decreased attack, and weaken, okay? Master Hexer is going to give us an additional 5% chance to land our debuffs. So if we don't have a 100% chance of landing debuffs, that is going to help us out in that category. We do have a decreased accuracy that's only at a 40% land rate. That is a debuff that does apply to the Sniper Mastery. That's why we have it on Duck the Pierce. Otherwise, 100% chance it's not really going to help in that situation, okay? So those are going to be the most important masteries. You could also go down, especially in the arena. Keep this in mind and listen up here. In PvE, meaning in any dungeon content, in clan boss and stuff like that, there's really a fixed amount of accuracy that you need per stage of the boss that you're fighting, right? To land any debuffs. And of course, you guys already know you need accuracy to land debuffs on anybody in this game, unless the debuff says cannot be resisted. That would be the only exception to the rule. But in the arena, we have really no max to our accuracy. So on our arena debuffer, if you have like a Madame Ceres, for example, or Ryan the Conjurer, you really want to go with Eagle Eye for your arena debuffer, right? Especially when you kind of progress a little bit into the game, you've been playing for a few months. Having Eagle Eye, getting that additional 50 accuracy on top of everything else is going to be extremely valuable. Again, in the arena, no accuracy is too high. Also, keep an eye out for an increased accuracy buff. A good option for a champion that has an increased accuracy buff. There's not a lot of them out there, but they're adding more really every single year. They're adding a few out there. One of my personal favorites is Khazard Depar. He has an ability here on his A3 that places an increased accuracy on all allies. Increased accuracy is one of the best setup buffs for a debuffer because it's going to boost their accuracy by 50% after you add in factor in artifacts and everything like that. You're going to get an additional 50% on your accuracy. That's going to be a tremendous boost to your debuffer. So keep an eye out for increased accuracy champions. Another one who's a personal favorite but a legendary of mine is Yoshi the Drunker. Where's Yoshi? He has this ability, increase attack and increase accuracy. Again, keep an eye out for increased accuracy. All right, so back to Duck the Pierce, guys. So the first priority, again, is going to be accuracy. So 190 accuracy, it's good for like level 18 to 21 dungeons, but we're really going to have to get that higher. That's why I have those accuracy masteries to help me out in the interim and while I'm farming better gear. Your best source of accuracy, again, is going to be your banner, right? So getting your character fully ascended to 6 stars on a debuffer is going to be quintessential to getting enough accuracy on them, because accuracy as a main stat is only available on your banner and your chest. Going with accuracy on your chest is going to be a great option, again, for your arena nuker, because usually you don't care about them hitting really hard, you don't need attack percentage, and normally you don't even care about keeping them alive necessarily, because their job is to sneak in there before your nuker goes. That's why speed tuning is really important, and then, well, their job is done, right? You place that decreased defense, and then the nuker takes care of everybody, and you farm up your great haul.
You know, you make it look so easy.
Well, again, that's PvP. But in PvE, again, in dungeons, clan boss, all that other stuff besides the arena in the game, you really want to go ahead and be prioritizing HP percentage or defense percentage on your chest and on your accessories so you can keep your debuffer alive. So you're generally going to need some speed and some accuracy on your debuffer because they have to be faster than your nuker. So again, accuracy and speed sets are going to be preferable in terms of sets to look out for your debuffer out there, whether it's arena or PvE. So in terms of how I have this guy built, I have crit rate. I need a lot of crit rate on him because, again, keep in mind his decreased defense is predicated on landing critical hits, right? I have defense percentage on the chest, and you're going to want speed on the boots 99 times out of 100 on your debuffer on your team. Now let me go ahead and show you Dr. Pierce in action. One last thing, as I mentioned, guys, his speed only needs to be faster than whoever he's setting the table for in terms of your nuker. So 197, we're going to run him with Kale here, and Kale's speed is 191. So he's going to be going before Kale, which is exactly what we want. So let me show you him in the arena here. We're going to go against this squad. We have our speed lead, we have our speed booster and apothecary, we have our nuker, and you're going to see the turn order here. So our speed booster goes first. That was Duck the Pierce. We have decreased defense, decreased attack, and then Kale comes in, nukes everybody, and game over. And that's really all you need to know for an early game nuker. Let's go ahead and swap over to my main account. I can show you some more advanced options. All right, guys, here we are on the main account, and I'm going to show you Madame Saris. So Madame Saris, again, we're running 2 accuracy and 1 perception. 3 perception would be better, but the main focus, again, is going to have an accuracy chest, accuracy as the main stat. We're going to have accuracy, obviously, on the banner, and then on our masteries, we're going to have Eagle Eye. That is the trifecta for your debuffer in order to maximize their accuracy. You can also add an accuracy aura to your team and an increased accuracy buff like we spoke about. That would be the 5 big things that you could do to really maximize your champion's accuracy. That way they're not getting resisted and they can get the job done. Madame Saris is so good because she's also removing all buffs from enemies, and then she's placing the decreased attack and decreased defense. She's one of the best arena debuffers inside the entire game. I want to talk about 2 other artifact sets that you could transition to in the end game to make your debuffer a little bit more robust, protect them a little bit better. Because think about it, what is one way to neutralize a debuffer on the opposing team?
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
Well, you can get in there first. You can be faster than them, right? Another way is to just crowd control them, just stun them, just freeze them, have a champion like Tormin, put their skills on cooldown with a champion like Hegemon. So there's a lot of options out there, especially the further you get into this game, to mitigate other debuffers. So you want to protect, because when they zig, we want to zag. We want to protect ourselves from those strategies. So what could we do? Well, there's, before we get to Stone Skin, let's go ahead and talk about immunity gear. So a lot of players will be wanting to put their debuffers in immunity gear. That's going to give them immunity for 2 turns. Immunity means that nobody else can put debuffs on them. However, you can remove somebody's immunity block debuffs buff that the gear gives you. So keep that in mind. So having a little bit of resist or a little bit of protection is going to be nice as well. But nonetheless, having immunity for 2 turns is going to essentially block anything that the opponents can do to you other than trying to remove that immunity. Get what I'm saying? So you keep your debuffer un-CC'd, or you keep them, active in the battle, and they'll resist those freezes, those block cooldown skills, etc. Just be careful for champions like Yumeko and Warlord and Basher who can put the skills on cooldown. It won't protect from that, but everything else you're going to be good to go. So nothing wrong with looking for good immunity gear that has speed and accuracy as substats. See this artifact right here, accuracy 22, speed 12. That's going to be a great immunity piece of gear to keep. So when you're farming immunity gear, guys, always look for accuracy and speed, because oftentimes you're going to have your immunity gear on your debuffer, okay? So think about what stats make sense on each artifact type for the type of champion you're going to be putting them on. Think about it. Okay, who am I going to put immunity on? Maybe you're a reviver, maybe you're a cleanser, but maybe you're debuffer as well. Another option is Stone Skin. Stone Skin, again, is kind of an end game set. You can farm this from a Hydra clan boss, but Stone Skin is going to give you Stone Skin. Well, it's going to mitigate 85% of damage and a 50% chance of blocking removals or steals. So that's going to give you not only damage mitigation, but also a chance at blocking anybody from stealing said or removing said Stone Skin. So a kind of more end game way to keep your debuffer from being CC'd or cut in line. That way they can actually get their debuffs off. Let me go ahead and show you a couple runs on the end game with Madame Saris, okay? So let's go ahead and show, I think I just have her in, well, I just showed you. I have her in Perception, so let's go ahead and run her with, do I have a team already made with good old Madame Saris? I sure do. So let's go ahead and run her with a team like this. We have Foley as our nuker on this squad, and we have Yumeko on the team as well. She has that increased cooldown ability, so she has a lot of accuracy as well. Again, the biggest thing you should be taking away from this video is accuracy and speed tuned. So Madame Saris is going to be faster than Foley. That's going to be really important because Foley is our nuker. You always want to have your debuffer faster than your nuker because we want to remove buffs and place that decreased defense sense. So now let me find a tankier team for you guys. We have Mithrala Lightbane, we have Ultimate Death Knight, we have Necret the Great, and we have Rotos the Lost Groom. And again, we are going to be going first here because we have a nice speedy team. And of course, again, we have our debuffer faster than our nuker, and that's most important. So there she goes, setting up Foley. He comes in, block revive, and only one left here on the enemy team. And that was quick work of a very tanky team because we had our order correct. Foley isn't even the hardest nuker inside the game, but he is empowered and has a blessing, so there's that at least. But you guys can see having a very powerful end game debuffer like this makes things pretty easy. Let's go against this team as well, and then we'll call it a video, guys. And again, I know we're focusing mainly on decreased defense champions in today's video, but these rules do apply again to pretty much any champion that's debuffing out there in the game, whether in the arena or in other areas of the game. In PvE, I will say, again, go with, instead of an accuracy on the chest, go with like HP percentage or defense percentage on the chest to make sure you keep your champion alive. That is, after all, the most important thing, to keep your debuffer alive. So guys, that's going to do it for the video. That is how to build a debuffer in Raid Shadow Legends. If you have another suggestion for a type of champion that you want to see, kind of a fundamental build or essential build video such as this one, go ahead and let me know in the comments below, guys. Thank you for watching all the way till the end. I appreciate you. Let me know, who is your go-to debuffer in the game? Who's your favorite debuffer in the game? I think mine, legendary, is probably Venus. Epic is probably Madame Ceres. Rare is probably going to be War Maiden. Thank you for watching, and as always, take care, guys.